Welcome to Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a
What's
light
your
on
story?
incredible impact. What does accessibility mean to you?
What's your mission? Welcome all to accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a light on incredible individuals and organizations and the work that they do. I'm your host, Josh Basil. I'm a C4-5 quadriplegic, paralyzed below my shoulders, and a power wheelchair user. I'm the Community Relations Manager at accessiBe and a passionate disability rights advocate and trial attorney focused on breaking down barriers to access and inclusion for people with disabilities. Today on accessiBe Spotlight Sessions, we're joined by Brian Carlin, the CEO of Aspire. Welcome, Brian.
Well, I wish my introduction about myself could be as impressive as yours, Josh.
Well, Brian, you're a pretty amazing guy, and we'd love to, let's just jump right into it. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Right, I'm Brian Carlin. I'm originally from Scotland and now live and have done in England since I was 18. I'm currently Chief Executive of Aspire. I've been at Aspire for over 25 years and I've been Chief Executive since 2001. Hobbies?
Wow.
I'm a long distance triathlete, so I've been representing Great Britain as an age group athlete since 2010. So I've raced all over the world.
That's got to be fun, and it's a great exercise. And tell us a little bit more about Aspire and the work that you guys do.
So every 4 hours in the UK, someone is paralysed by a spinal cord injury. We know there's no time to prepare. It's life-changing. It's a catastrophic injury. I remember clinicians saying to me that it's the most complex injury sustainable of the human body that the human body can continue to live with. We know that disability is expensive, and for all those reasons, and apart from anything else, there is currently still no cure for a spinal cord injury, and that's why Aspire exists. So we pride ourselves in providing practical solutions to the problems faced by spinal cord injured people every day.
Is that not only one of the most complex injuries, but one of the most expensive injuries? Because a lot of people need that long-term care, independent living, you name it. There's a lot of services that can go to being put in to allow someone to have a better quality of life. And I know you guys do a ton of that. So I kind of want to know a little bit more kind of what motivated you to become a part of Aspire, and also kind of a little bit about the power of community training.
Well, my background was in contract leisure management, and Aspire was just about to open the Aspire Leisure Centre back in 1998, and it didn't have the internal expertise with which to set up the operating systems and manage a swimming pool. So I was headhunted by a leisure company. They offered me a directorship, and part of my job was to set up the Spinal Leisure Centre. And I'd never really thought about working for a charity before, but after 6 months of working there, I resigned my role at the company and I offered to work for the charity directly. And I just found it so rewarding that everything I was doing was for the benefit of some people in society who are most underrepresented, most underserved, and to give so much back. It was just so incredibly rewarding. And apart from anything else, I could use my sort of business acumen and commercial expertise to bring all their accounting systems in-house, recover VAT they shouldn't have paid, and generate income. So I loved it. And when the opportunity came up to apply to become Deputy Chief Executive, I didn't hesitate but to apply. And it was just amazing. And then you're talking about community, the impact in the community. Aspire Leisure Centre is unique possibly in the entire world. It has 37% use by disabled customers and 26% of our workforce are disabled. And there was an initiative launched in the early turn of the century called the Inclusive Fitness Initiative, which was a government-led scheme providing money to leisure operators to purchase more accessible gym equipment. And I got involved then. And I remember I used to travel up and down the country giving a lecture on the business case model for inclusion. And I remember a guy in the audience said to me, but you've got disabled people working in your gym. Where do we get a disabled fitness instructor? Because surely that's one of the reasons why you attract so many disabled customers. And it gave me an idea. And I remember thinking about it and waking up in the morning and I just thought, I've got to do something about this. I came up with the idea of creating a training course free of charge to disabled people only that would train them to gain a professional qualification as a fitness instructor. And we'd work with the leisure industry to source 12-week work placements where they can gain confidence and experience doing the job. But not only that, they can learn about overcoming the barriers that they may face within the workplace, whilst also changing the attitudes and minds of not only work colleagues, but management, and more importantly, customers. So the whole thing for me about inclusion was given the opportunity to train people to become fitness professionals and give them that confidence. And probably the most brilliant outcome from it was when I met a spinal cord injured woman who'd been on the course. She went all the way through to becoming a personal trainer. And I met her and she said to me, I'm going to give up working in the fitness industry. I remember feeling devastated. And then this sudden overwhelming sense of elation when she said, I've got a place at university, I'm going to study to be a physiotherapist. I mean, it was incredible that she'd become an absolutely brilliant fitness professional that had gained in so much confidence from what she was doing that it gave her that self-belief that she could do anything. You know, permanent wheelchair user or not, she was going to become a physiotherapist. And she might be the only fully qualified physiotherapist who's also a permanent wheelchair user. I don't know that for a fact, but you can only imagine. Have you ever seen a physiotherapist in a wheelchair?
I have in the States, but it's one of those things. It's like once you start seeing other people doing it as well, it starts a chain reaction and giving confidence to others. You know, if John, Susie, Jim can do it, I can do it too. And then once you start doing it, you get a taste of it. You're like, you know what? I can take this to the next level. I can get more education. I can get more certifications. I can open my own gym. I can do whatever I want if I apply myself, and get my hands, get my wheels a little dirty, whatever you want to say. Just get into the grind of things. I love that story. That's awesome.
Yeah, great.
And that program is great. So you guys have grown it into one of the largest spinal cord kind of training programs in the world, right?
Yeah, and it's pan disability. So it was a big learning curve for us. And we worked in partnership with YMCA Fit, who are the training providers. And they were absolutely brilliant. They had to learn themselves about how you adapt a training program that can accommodate pan disability. You know, everything from someone who's profoundly blind, deaf, mental disabilities, and their, neurodiversity, and capturing all of that is and can be quite challenging. But, we worked on the first ever pilot and we learned a lot. And disabled people on the course, it's incredible because they learn so much from each other about each other's disabilities. It's just remarkable. But they recognize that just because you have a specific disability doesn't mean to say you're a specialist in disability. You know about yourself and your own condition.
Learning from each other, creating community. There's just so much can happen from those conversations, from those experiences, just being a part of each other's lives. I would love to know what first comes to mind, Brian, when you hear the word accessibility.
I think for me, accessibility is first and foremost the breaking down of the physical barriers. It's incredible because I think the world has come a long way in improving accessibility to services and facilities. But that's still, I always think of that as being the biggest barrier. The built environment is what really disables people. I think the second thing that disables people are attitudes. You can have the next part of it about accessibility is inclusion. People have to be accepting that we are just people. We shouldn't be defined by our disability or religious beliefs or wherever. But unfortunately, people do hold prejudice, whether they're conscious of it or not. Yeah. So I think, the first thing, definitely physical. Second is possibly attitude.
And Brian, what role do you think technology plays in making the world more accessible, more inclusive for people with spinal cord injuries and really anybody with a disability?
Well, to me, it means assistive technology. So we provide a service whereby we have technology professionals who work in spinal centers, and they support people with similar level of injuries to yourself who have limited or no upper limb function to access their smartphone or their tablet or laptop. I have to say that, like some of the work that accessiBe does in making things like, web browsers more accessible, we work at a level where just being able to open up a device that someone can control independently through either eye gaze, voice controls, and of course, we've been delivering this service for so many years that when mobile phones literally did one function, and that was you could use it to phone. It didn't do anything else. Whereas now, you can, if you know how to access the voice controls, there is so much you can do.
And the technology is just getting better and better with time.
I'm
So much of the technology that was pushed out for the disability community is now integral into all systems of people without disabilities that they can't live without it. But it was kind of started for different communities with different abilities.
Well, I don't know if you had the experience that we had, but one year there was an operating system for a certain type of mobile phone that was released, and suddenly it switched off the access to most assistive technology capability within the phone. And our guys got immediately in touch with the company. I'm not advertising their name. And within, they were so responsive. The next release that came out addressed all the issues so that all that functionality could be switched back on again. And you're right, technology has come a long way. And I read an article just at the end of last week about assistive technology and its future. And basically it was saying that there is so much inbuilt capability, being made available now that soon the sort of service that we provide will become redundant, which I think is fantastic that technology can have such a significant part to play in improving the quality of people's lives, especially those with, loss function who rely on it to stay in control of things like bank transactions. And the difference is made for patients who are in hospital who might just want to order a pizza rather than have hospital food.
It's exciting times, and especially with technology, artificial intelligence. With artificial intelligence in particular, like it's probably the worst it's ever going to be today. Tomorrow it's just going to get better. Next week it's going to get better. Like it's just going to be evolving to the point where it's able to help us so much more with all aspects of life, whether it's automation, whether it's critical thinking. There's just so much incredible future opportunities there. And I also want to know, where do you find the biggest current gaps within businesses prioritizing access and inclusion?
I think the biggest gap is comprehension and understanding. And when you say about inclusion, in the UK, there's been a big rise in the appointment of equality, diversity, and inclusion positions within management, within companies. And I never forget that there was a scheme called the Inclusive Fitness Initiative that I mentioned earlier. And to get it accredited, and I'm telling this story as an example, to get accredited, you had to comply with so many systems in place, and your journey from car park to the gym had to be fully accessible without barriers. You had to have services that were accessible. But the sort of irony was that we couldn't get excellence as a standard, as a benchmark, because we didn't have a separate marketing plan for disabled people. And it's only within the last 2 years we've managed to get them to realize that they're sort of missing the point. It's not about something separate. It's about ensuring that everything that you do is inclusive. And I think that we've come a long way. We really have. The fact that, EDI is now on the agenda for many commercial organizations, but making it one individual's responsibility, they've sort of lost the point. That's not what it's about. And it's that one person that's a champion. It's like Health and Safety at Work Act. Health and safety is the responsibility of every employee. You don't just appoint that responsibility to one individual and say it's theirs, that they've got to deliver it. It has to be embedded, and it comes from the very top. Inclusion starts from the leaders of the organization. So I think there's a gap.
Well said.
The gap is they've come a long way on the journey to be and recognize what inclusion is all about. But they've got to make it truly inclusive for it to work, and not just think of it as an appointment and a label, and that's a tick box exercise. Yeah.
Well, it's important to transform that business culture from the top down, but also just making sure it's there. It's not there for 1 second. It's not a flip of a switch, but it's an ongoing conversation and practice. And once you start doing that, it changes the whole environment of the business. But Brian, I want to thank you so much for being our guest today on accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions. I really enjoyed your insights and the incredible work that you're doing.
Great. Well, thank you very much for having me, and it's a pleasure. And you keep doing the great work that you're doing as well.
Thank you, Brian. And to all of our guests, thank you so much for staying to the end of accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow us at accessiBe_community. And as always, have a beautiful day, and then thank you for being a part of this journey with us. Take care, everyone. Bye, Brian.